Hello, all, and welcome back to the NFL Quick Talk podcast. This is part two of the two-part series where I put all the quarterbacks in the NFL into a tier ranking system from D to S. If you haven't watched the NFC QB tier list, I advise you go do that, as well as watching this one. It's been fun making this. If y'all want something more like that, like this, ranking people, teams, and tiers, let me know. I will get on that. All right, let's get started with this AFC tier ranking. We will move straight into quarterback tier rankings. First quarterback on my list is Lamar Jackson of the Baltimore Ravens. He is an elite runner. He is a very good passer when he is healthy. And I'm going to give him A tier because if he did play all 17 games, he would probably be an S tier. He has the potential to be an S tier quarterback. He is when he's on the field most of the time. But I can't give an injured quarterback S tier simply because of the fact that he hasn't really earned it yet. He hasn't gone past the divisional round in the playoffs in his career, even though he's largely had great teams with the Ravens. And for that, he gets A tier. And he might move up this year depending on his health. Again, health is everything for Lamar Jackson. All right, the second quarterback on our list here, Ryan Tannehill of the Tennessee Titans. He gets C tier because he is not a very effective runner. He does not run the ball very effective. He's an okay passer. He's not the greatest, not the best. And he doesn't seem like he can win the big game, and that cannot put him over the hump. Hopefully, the addition of DeAndre Hopkins can help him with this. Excuse me. But he gets C tier because of just his statistical numbers and the game film on him. C tier. All right, next quarterback. Third quarterback on the list, Justin Herbert of the Los Angeles Chargers. We detailed his contract extension in the last news episode, which is episode 6, I think. And if you haven't watched that, you should go watch that. We detail his contract and many others. And he'll get A tier because he's an elite passer and he has elite pocket presence, and he's a very underrated runner. He can run when he has to. He's got a bigger frame. He can take hits well. And the reason he is not at S tier is because he cannot win the big games and he cannot get his team to the next level. Or he hasn't shown. I shouldn't have said cannot. He has not shown that he can. Maybe this year he can. But for now, just based off of not based on this. These rankings aren't based off of the future. If they were based off of the future, I would have a lot of people higher and lower than they are right now. But just based off of play and what we've seen out of these quarterbacks in the last couple years, Herbert gets A tier. And let's go to Joe Burrow of the Cincinnati Bengals. He gets S tier because he is very much styled like Justin Herbert in that he is an elite passer and has elite pocket presence. He's just a better passer than Justin Herbert. If you can go past elite, you get to S. So he's a very, very good elite passer, and he's a good runner. The people try to knock him for this. I don't know why. He's a really good runner when he tucks and runs. And the difference between him and Justin Herbert, one of the main difference in my opinion, but you got all the little other ones, is that he has won the big games. He has beaten Patrick Mahomes more times than Patrick Mahomes has beaten him. And for that, he gets S tier. All right, next quarterback, we are going to go to Pittsburgh, to the starting quarterback of the Steelers, Kenny Pickett. He's going to get B tier because he has shown me that he can step up in big games. He had the most fourth quarter comebacks of the NFL last season. In the he played most of the season, but he didn't get control of the team until week 5. And I will say, in the first 5, 6 ish games, he was banged up. He had a couple concussions. He did not play very good. See the Dolphins game where he threw an interception late in the game, but he rebounded, going. I might be wrong about this, but going, I think, 7-1 down the stretch, and nearly getting the Steelers to a playoff berth. And as you will see later when I do the AFC North predictions, I think that he will take them to another playoff berth, as Mike Tomlin has done so many times before. And just on the X's and O's, he is a very good runner. I've watched the film. I watch a lot of Steelers games. He's a very good runner. He is not the best passer by any means, but he still can fire the ball in there. His arm strength he needs to definitely work on, but his accuracy is very good. All right, so for that, he gets B tier, and he has the potential to go up to A tier, in my opinion, by the end of this year, and I think he will. Going to Denver. Russell Wilson, the quarterback of the Denver Broncos, he is going to have A tier because he is still a very dynamic quarterback, even in his 30s, as he is in now. I think he's 32, if I have that correctly. But he is still very dynamic quarterback, even after last year's disaster with head coach Nathaniel Hackett. Didn't they couldn't run a functional offense, and that was not part of that was Russell Wilson, but part of that, a very small part of that was Russell Wilson. A large part of that was the head coach, the GM not putting pieces around him, the offensive coordinator. There was a lot of stuff going on in Denver last year that prevented Russell Wilson from going. But when he did play in a semi-functional offense that he commanded, he played pretty well in my standards watching the film again. And he gets A tier for that, and I'm pretty sure he'll have a bounce back season this year with Sean Payton. All right, next quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo of the Las Vegas Raiders. He gets C tier because he is not in the Kyle Shanahan system anymore. The Kyle Shanahan system in with the 49ers in San Francisco virtually lets every single quarterback be tiers and leaps and bounds ahead of where they actually are. And with a terrible, no, I wouldn't say terrible, but with a lackluster offense now that basically only features Devontae Adams, when they lost Darren Waller, and it looks like they're going to lose Josh Jacobs too, and Josh Jacobs is really one of the key ingredients to that offense. And for that, Jimmy G is going to get C tier because he does not he can't really prove that he can win outside of the Kyle Shanahan system and be a good, effective quarterback. We're going on to the next quarterback, where Jimmy G started out in uh with the Patriots in New England. Mac Jones, the quarterback there, he's also going to have C tier because he is just on the X's and O's standpoint. He is inaccurate at times with the football. He throws a fair amount of picks. He does not have a functioning offense around him. If you remember last year, he had no offensive coordinator, and they were running the ball 3 times and throwing a screen once, and they were punting. Or running the ball twice, because, well, sorry about that. But maybe with an offensive coordinator this year, he can resurrect his career, but by all standards, he's not going to have a good season this year, and he'll probably be out of New England and in a backup role somewhere else the following season. And moving on to the next quarterback, we have Tua Tagovailoa of the Miami Dolphins. This may surprise some people, but I have him at B tier because when it comes to his concussion history, injury history, he has not proven that he can stay on the field to help his team go to victory. That was one of the main reasons that they ended up the 7th seed and not any higher in the playoffs last season, is because Tua was not healthy for half the season with this reoccurring concussion injury. And he only got off the concussion protocol, I think, a couple weeks ago. He's been on concussion protocol since the postseason all the way to very recently. So that is a big problem for them. They need to teach him how to get hit and not get this concussion thing. Otherwise, a couple more hits, a couple more concussions, and I'm very serious about this. He could be out of the league. There have been there have been players that have had these issues, and they literally can't take it anymore, and they're out of the league. They're promising they can't do it anymore. When it comes to the X's and O's, he's a pretty effective runner. He is a lefty, which causes a little bit of an impediment when it comes to throwing the ball. He's a little inaccurate sometimes. Uh, anyway, he gets B tier because of that. And next quarterback, we're going to go to Buffalo. Josh Allen, A tier. He's a dynamic runner, dynamic passer. He just does a little bit too much, and that might seem a little counterintuitive since he's the quarterback of the team. He should be doing everything, but in reality, he should run the ball more. This might be a little bit more play calling, but when he's throwing 60 passes per game, 50, 60 passes a game, he tends to be throwing more interceptions um, than he usually does. He tends to be a little bit more inaccurate, and that's just because he's throwing a higher volume of passes. He's throwing too much, and if they can model the playbook a little bit, so that they're running the ball a little bit more, then I think he can go to S tier and make a deep playoff run. All right, next quarterback, Trevor Lawrence. He's also going to get A tier. Lawrence plays with the Jacksonville Jaguars. He is an elite thrower and an effective runner. His running is um, so-so. It's not the greatest running. He's not on Lamar Jackson's level, but he's not just sitting there. He'll take off and run, and when he does, he usually gets a fair amount of yards. And I could see him being S tier if he makes another deep playoff run, because if he makes a deep playoff run, that means that he is being the focal point of this offense, and he can get it done. All right, next, this one may surprise a lot of people. This ranking here, Aaron Rodgers, now of the New York Football Jets. He is going to go in S tier because he is still one of the greatest of all time at the quarterback position. There's no denying it. He is one of the greatest to ever play quarterback, and in a very good Robert Saleh system, he should thrive as the starting quarterback there. Moving on to Deshaun Watson of the Cleveland Browns. He is going to get B tier because he is not the same Deshaun Watson of 3 years ago. 3 years ago, he was with the Texans, he was a dynamic quarterback. He was an S tier quarterback. He was an awesome quarterback. And 3 years have passed, and he hasn't played any football. And the few games that he played in last season, he looked awful. Toward the end, he looked maybe a little bit better. But if we're just going based off of last season, he would be in D tier, just because. But based off of 3 years ago when he was playing at an S tier level, he's going to get B tier because he has the potential to be a pretty good quarterback. If he just is an effective game manager for Cleveland, I think Cleveland can be very effective. But I don't see him getting back to his S tier level. because he's 3 years removed. He's older. Older quarterbacks typically aren't that great in the NFL once you get older, stuff like that. Anyway, so he's going to get B tier. And I'm going to lump the two rookies together here. CJ Stroud of the Houston Texans, where Deshaun Watson used to play, and Anthony Richardson of the Indianapolis Colts. They're both going to have C tier. And as I explained in the NFC QB tier list with Bryce Young, I can't put rookies any higher because they haven't proven that they can go any higher because they haven't played any NFL football. NFL football is completely different than college football. College football, you can be a star anywhere and it won't matter in the NFL because you have to adapt yourself to the NFL system and execute from there. So I can't put rookies any higher, but I'm fairly confident that both of these rookies will ascend this tier list as the years progress. And the last quarterback on our list, if y'all haven't figured it out by now, you're stupid, because it's Patrick Mahomes, the best quarterback in the league by far. He shouldn't even be in S tier. He should be in a tier above S tier, and then the tier above that, because he's just that good. He's obviously in S tier because, well, we can't go any higher. But my only remark here on Patrick Mahomes is, why wouldn't he be S? If someone can give me a logical argument why he wouldn't be in S tier, I'd be all for it. But I haven't heard one by anyone, the national media, my friends, anyone. I haven't heard anything like that. So he's gonna go in S tier, even though he's better than Burrow and Rodgers, and his career will be better than both of them. And I don't think that's a stretch saying that. All right, with that, if you're on YouTube, again, as I explained on the NFC QB tier list, you can look at the screen, and here is the tier rankings as a whole. I did it on Tier Maker. They are very good for making tiers. You can make tier for practically anything. And I had no one in D tier because that speaks volumes about the AFC's quarterbacks compared to the NFC's quarterbacks. The AFC is obviously the superior conference when it comes to depth and quarterbacks and just teams in general. Their teams are just a lot better. And I don't think there is any reason not saying that. So, anyway, here it is. Thank y'all for watching this second part of the video. If you haven't seen the NFC QB tier list, I very highly recommend that you do that. If you want some news, episode 6 has details on a ton of news, including Justin Herbert's big signing and a bunch of others, like Saquon Barkley signed for another year with the New York Football Giants, and hopefully I will be making some more tier lists if y'all want more of them, and so please like and subscribe. I saw this stat recently on my YouTube page in the studio that only half of y'all that watch are subscribed. So thank you to that half, but the other half, please subscribe. It means a lot to the channel. We're trying to grow here, from being relatively small to being a lot bigger than all the other shows. We're trying to do that here. All right. See you next time for the next video.